Hey everybody, this is KevyKev from the E13, and I just wanted to preface tonight's podcast by letting you know that I am a complete fuck up and completely forgot to plug in the cable providing audio from my mixer into the computer. And hence, what you're going to hear on the podcast between Marc and I is just coming off of my regular MacBook microphone and Marc's feed through StreamYard. So, without further ado, here's the least professional podcast that we've put out to date. Hey, and begin. Fantastic job, Kev. You can tell you've been a DJ for a very good long time. You forgot to hit the button. Welcome, everybody, in podcast land and on American Hammers TV. We are the Columbus E13, and I didn't add Marc yet. Hold. There he is.
Hey, Kev.
All right. This setup is janky, dude. I put together the quick setup, but it looks like it's recording, so okay.
All right. I mean, there's been low-quality remote podcasts since quarantine started, so, you know, no big.
Low-quality production is our middle name, bro. It might be our first name.
Yes, until your admission of guilt just now.
Yes. Let me pull Jerry in. Let me pull Jerry in a little bit.
So you can scoff at us and remind us that we lost 2-0 again. That
we suck on our own account.
I guess we don't need reminders.
It's not Jerry's fault. He didn't laugh at me all last week, so good on him. Still got his mask on, which is more than I can say for like half of fucking Columbus. So
yeah, ridiculous.
Yeah. How you doing? Good?
All right. You know, just riding out the summer in my house.
Super fun, isn't it? Here, let's pull the layout real quick. Oh, now we can see our super cool background, but we're so much smaller.
Yeah.
That's fine.
It's fine.
So,
go for the content. Yeah, how are you?
I promised we'd keep it short and sweet tonight. Again, I was desperate to have Eric on with us again, who promised up and down that, you know, our friend Eric, for all of you that missed it when he was on the show before, he used to be a West Ham fan. Once in a while, he would show up and he'd be the best dressed of us all, and you know, he used to. He's not from Britain, but he did live in East London for a while. I can't remember his story arc of how he ended up here, but now he but drives back and forth between Cleveland and Columbus.
He's an Ohio Jets.
He's a lawyer, and he just spends his time. We like to make a joke that he spends his time suing people, but he's passionate about the team, or at least he used to be.
I mean, we're learning that masochism has its limits.
Right. Well, he had the best idea against Wolves for our first comeback game, which was because they didn't have any ball boys at London Stadium to just constantly kick the ball out, which would have got played from the jump for a 0-0 draw. Not a bad idea in hindsight.
No, it wasn't. Well, it wasn't a bad idea at the time to me either. But, you know, we learned that was not going to be a feasible option. And, you know, like our dreams, they keep dying. So
they fade and die, as the song goes, apparently. So just you and me tonight. Old school.
Back in the day.
Kits.
Almost,
School. Old school is fuck. We already talked shit about Eric here. I've got my notes. You got my notes earlier, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we already talked shit about Eric. Eric, I know you're going to hear this. The hammers across the globe want to hear your opinion, brother. He has a strong one, and he's fun, and I wish he was here. So hopefully, if things don't completely spiral out of control here in the next couple of weeks, we can get him on again before the end of the season.
Yeah.
That is, if his neuroses calm down and there's a little bit left on his ticket as far as like his time goes. Apparently he's prepping for suing more people as we speak. So, let's get right to it, dude. Our team is really, really hard to watch right now.
Yeah. It's not looking forward to, wasn't looking forward to Spurs. I mean, I didn't want to be the guy to say they were going to lose 2-0 to Wolves, but that's exactly what happened. In fact, we got it twice.
Yep. You got it dead on.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
I wish you hadn't, but I mean, look, maybe I need to start to subscribe to your methods of realism about the whole thing.
It's 2020 is really working out for that school of thought, isn't it? You take the worst scenario, and that tends to be the right one.
I still think maybe we should have tried my first idea when I hit you up about this to do and tonight last week. We were going to try an experiment here on the E13 podcast wherein we decided to say nothing negative about the team. Absolutely nothing. In fact, it was just like Bambi's mom said, if we couldn't say something good, we weren't going to say anything at all. So then we were basically going to be like this.
All right, get my phone out.
For as long as we could stand it. And then it would be right.
No.
Right. Or we go, oh, no.
Oh, wait.
I thought I had something to, no. Something's bad. It's terrible. It's terrible to watch, dude. The first half defensively, this past game, okay. What can be 0-0 at the half of both of the last two games, and then everything seems to fall apart.
I mean, Tottenham, like Spurs, at least. You got to get out of jail free card with a disallowed goal, but you had the same feeling at the half for both of these matches where it's like they can't play a full 90 minutes. They're not up for it.
Amazing. Yeah. They are a Premier League team, right? Well, at least for now.
So we heard.
So we've heard. So they have been in the past. It does, like, look, I'm being pretty aloof about the whole thing, but it does pain me to speak so ill of this team that I love so much. But when you and I were batting back and forth some ideas via text, I thought it was a real good idea to talk about what you mentioned about how we literally could talk about how we are kind of disengaged. I mean, the shutdown was bad enough, but what has happened since the shutdown? I mean, I don't think I've ever checked out my Score mobile app more often to check out who's losing other games and be like,
that's the strategy. I think that's a big part of it. I wish that I could say that I was not feeling like a wet blanket going into all of this. I felt I had mixed feelings about everything coming back in the first place. And I think I said something to that effect when we were talking 2 weeks ago, and I guess the score prediction was very much in line with that. But it just,
I mean, how are some people wrong about a level of enthusiasm? I mean, we were carrying some pretty good performances going into the shutdown.
Yeah,
Bowen was starting to step up, having two up front looked like a real good thing, and then they kept talking about how there's no injuries, and then all of a sudden we see the lineup for the first day, and
where does injuries come from?
Right? Did you see my post on Instagram about Snodgrass, about how it looks like to me like he's lost a bunch of weight?
Oh, has he?
Yeah. Well, I look. It could be a bad Photoshop cutout job, and everybody on the team was included in the photo shoot to to show off the new kits and stuff, which are cool. I mean, who knows? I'll probably end up buying one. We'll talk about that later. But then they showed Snodgrass, and to me, his arms he's a football player, so already he runs for a living. You know what I mean? And so he's going to be thin. But to me, he looked really thin, like he'd been sick, I've been up and down looking through news sites, and
you can't find anything.
I can't find anything about what his injury is. The only thing is that there's speculation supposedly about the fact that he probably won't be back this season. Like, so for the next month, no Snodgrass. Well, I guess they're going to like hold off on playing Holler on tomorrow.
Right.
I don't know what happened to him, except for I heard he got hurt in a training injury.
Yeah, it was like right before Wolves, he hurt his hip. And yeah, he's back on the grass, as Moyes said. Same with Ogbonna,
right?
Who is desperately needed.
He was on the bench for Spurs, was he not? I'm pretty sure he was. I remember them saying that he was available, but they didn't play him.
Yeah, they're still not chancing it. It was funny. I read the transcript of Moyes' press conference this morning. He's like, any like, do you consider these a free hit? And he's like, there's no free hits. Says the same stuff that a manager would always say. But these lineups and the total lack of subs seem to suggest otherwise. Yeah.
So let's talk about Moyes for just a second. Okay. So
right.
As you know well that an unpopular opinion that I have is that I like David Moyes. I don't dislike David Moyes, but like many other things that we'll talk about here in the next 5 seconds, my opinions are changing rapidly. You know what I mean? Like, why does the cat look so incredibly clueless? Why is he getting no performances out of the people that he's putting on the pitch? Right.
I think that, nutshell is what a lot of people say. I think still feel. I think, he's an agreeable enough guy and you want to like him and you want to see him win these games. I was thinking about this. You think back to when he first came to West Ham. Late 2017, and it was like, this guy just came off a relegation from Sunderland, and it's like you wanted to believe that like that was a fluke, that was something that was beyond his control, that was something that maybe if he had a more supportive board, or he had some of these trash players that they had at the time off the books, like maybe he could have remolded them into something,
right?
And then you realize that that's exactly where he's at with West Ham right now. You realize that you have the same shite owners as, what was it, Elliot Short that was running Sunderland. He's been out of work. He was out of work for a year and a half in between coming back here. That's not for nothing. Like, you didn't think he could have got like either the championship or gone back abroad. No, he was working with UEFA. What does that say?
Right. He was teaching master classes. Did you know that? Like he had
I didn't know that.
Master class that was online.
So he was like teaching people how to be coaches, more or less.
Is that what it was? I thought
I don't know how all of that works. It feels like a very like, parochial boarding school system over there, but not coaching, not managing.
Yeah. Well, I'm not really sure he can teach himself how to do that at this point. So, I'm trying to lead into the fact that I'm not much of a Moyes fan anymore. I mean, I really wanted the guy to be successful. I really did. My mobile vet that's been over here more often than I care to admit lately, he's a huge Sunderland fan. So I have nothing but I feel sorry for you to happen to him. From Moyes' past, I guess I didn't realize that one of Moyes' not so great stops on his career was with Sunderland. I guess they hate him up there. So at least
and that's when I started thinking about it more, because I think it was within the first 3 or 4 games of that season with Sunderland when he started a lot of negative talk in press conferences of being like, it's going to be really hard. Like, I don't know, like how this season's going to turn out. And you basically get that same aura from him now.
And making excuses like going into it kind of thing.
Yeah. Like, what did he say today? That the Spurs game was like their second best, like physical stats, or like their third most sprints this season, which, once again,
sprints or West Ham's most sprints?
West Ham's third most sprints, or was it? Whatever. They had a lot of sprints. That was one of his positive takeaways from playing Spurs.
Which is actually amazing because none of those sprints came out of Felipe Anderson.
Hell no.
Which is another thing I'm very, very sorry for. I've been defending Felipe, as you well know, for a very good long time.
Yeah.
Based on the spring in his step that we saw last year. And then I really loved the goal that he had just after Christmas time where he basically took everything into his own hands and just powered one in. Look, I think he got past 3 people. It was like, oh, my God, thank God.
Yeah.
Now he feels like, I don't know what's going on. You know what I mean? That's why I put out that Instagram post where it's like, please, dude, please defend the ball better. I mean, how, dude?
It was horrifying. I was at home. It was still a work day. I did watch a lot of the first half.
Right.
It was like we said, okay, they managed to keep it goalless at the break, but who knows how long that's going to last. Sure enough, by the 60th minute, got a score. I walk back to my computer. I start doing some work, and then I see it's the 70th minute.
Right.
He finally decides to do a sub, and it's Anderson and I was just like, I might as well turn off the TV. It was the most. Yeah, you already knew it was going to be the same repeat of running into a wall, uninspired, clueless ball handling. And that's exactly what happened.
It's a sad state of affairs that we've had all this time to prepare. You know what I mean? And I realize that people. I realize some stuff, but I make some assumptions on the fact that athletes that make their living running, you know what I mean, and now haven't been running for 3 months, they're going to be rusty. Obviously, the first couple of games, players across the league were dropping like flies from injuries, probably because they're hitting it too hard, too fast. That's one thing that our guys can't really be accused of. You know what I mean? Nobody really seems to be putting that kind of effort in. I mean, across the boards, everybody but Rice is kind of meh to bad. You know what I mean? It's unreal. And
so you think Rice is the only one that gives a shit?
It's hard to see it any other way. I'm sure I'm wrong about that. It can't be that they don't give a shit. Nobody obviously gives a shit. I think Jared Bowen, I think he gives a shit.
Well, he's also you could be really cynical and say he's just auditioning for his next team.
Okay, well, I don't like to think that way, but okay, I see what you're saying there.
It's there. I mean, we're staring down, a gauntlet here, and that's really very much on the table.
Speaking about next teams, what do you think about Aaron Cresswell on Top
God, don't get me started on that.
This is somebody who's been a talisman for the club, who I'm a huge fan of.
A veteran. Being if he moves on, there's going to be better people. And it was right to be just dragged all over the internet for that.
Not that I have any illusions that any of the players are actually watching our podcast, but Cresswell, if this gets back to you, dude, what the fuck? Really? It almost kind of seems like him and Rice must have had some kind of backroom talk, I would feel Rice was I feel really, really bad, if I ever have to do anything, but if the money is there, and Cresswell don't worry, I'll make it a little easier. You know what I'm saying? They won't hate you so much. And
it was that was framed for me earlier this afternoon. So I got a article forwarded to me from The Athletic, so paywalled, but it was about West Ham.
Okay,
they talked to various players from some of West Ham's more recent relegation battles. So they talked to, folks from 2002. He went down to 40 points. They talked about the Great Escape of 2007. What?
Do you remember names, who they actually talked to?
I'd have to pull it up
I didn't
again.
see that article. Okay. So
but they do Great Escape of 2007. They talk about the whole breakdown under Avram Grant. But I mean, the one that I remember, of course, the one that I was actually remember watching was the 2013-14 season when they talked to Matt Jarvis, where they're like, after they got knocked out of the League Cup on that 9-0 aggregate by Man City, it was like all they had to do was like, survive. Right. And, he talked about, so I copied and pasted this quote. He said, like, it's mentally draining being in a relegation fight, and that's when you need the characters in the team to help out. And I'm like, who would be considered a character on this team right now? Like, you would think Cresswell would be a character, but no, he's talking this shit on TalkSport late night. I would think somebody like Snodgrass would be a character. He's nowhere to be found.
Yeah, where is he even? He's not in the stadium. He's not. He's
right. I think it speaks to this larger point that's like none of these guys are strong leaders. It continues to be this Mark Noble, you can't rely on me forever situation. Like that's all you have. You would have thought that like it's not like Declan is stepping up and being like, some dressing room deputy or having that role at least when the club wants to do social media. It's just like this whole clowning around on the pitch type thing. Like who are these people that are like actually galvanizing you?
Yeah, but
that's hard to see.
If Moyes doesn't do the right thing, for the players that he's really going to need, whether they stay up or not, then they're gonna break camp. You know what I mean? And
that was so for Avram Grant, they talked to Matty Upson.
Okay,
and he was like, we liked Zola, we liked what he wanted to do, but, and then the board was convinced Grant was the right person to have. And it was like, there was no communication with them. Like we had a lot of players only meetings, but it has to come from the top. And, it sounds absolutely familiar with Pellegrini up until December. And, it's quickly emerging that nothing really changed on that front.
Right. For sure.
Yeah.
It's all just so discouraging, you know what I mean? Like, here I am. Like, first of all, like we're trying to do the best that we can for Pub Mahone in this new world. I guess I'll call it a new world. I'd like to call it a blip, you know what I mean? But 3 months off, and then I'm back down at the pub. 54 years old, diabetic, scared to death that some jackass going to come in there with, no mask on. And not that I really want to get into a whole political thing about, like everybody's health should not be a political issue anyway. Just only in America, right? Mm-hmm. So,
damn right.
The fact is the pub has been good to us. They came through when Three-Legged Mare pulled the plug on us and closed and didn't give us any warning on it or nothing. We didn't even skip a beat. We didn't have to miss a game at the beginning of this year. I basically moved the whole thing. I mean, I think there was we had a week off or something. It was like
it was fortuitous timing. Yeah.
But I mean, Pub Mahone's been a good spot. They've pretty much let me do whatever I wanted to do over there. We've come through for them. They are happy to have us. But at the same time, okay, so you haven't been there for either of the first two games back, which I totally understand. But so like a couple of the things I was worried about, like the first thing that they didn't tell us, and this was only temporary. They fixed it after the very first game. But I went in there to plug it in because the first day against Wolves, we were just on regular NBC. And the DirecTV had been turned off. And I was like, oh.
Big surprise.
Like, what the hell? So luckily I had my Fire Stick, had to update it and everything like that. Hadn't touched it in 3 months, like the one that I carry around in the bag. So we got it to work. Everything was all good. For the next game, they got their regular DirecTV back and we were able to. So that was all fixed. They have totally taken out more than half of the tables in there.
Really?
Oh, yeah. So in the front, the long table that I normally set up at with the projector and everything, that's gone. That's not even there. So nobody ever sits at the 3 booths, which are underneath the projector screen anyway.
Yeah.
We have one regular small 4-top in the middle that I push up behind the projector, and Heather and I sit there. And the closest tables to us are like, they're not just 6 feet, they're like 10 feet over there and 10 feet over there. You know what I mean? So like the first game, we had a couple people there. Matt and his girlfriend were there, Matt Ellis, and they kind of like sat on the corner, and he was standing there with a drink, and I'm like, you realize that your ass needs to be in the chair if you're holding liquor. And he's like, okay, I'll sit down. Sat down immediately. We thought it was funny, but at the same time, he wanted to be compliant. So,
right.
So he, you know, we were all having a good time of it, but we had like 7-8 people. Nikki Turner, who just turned 21, was over there with his buddy. We thought Chris was going to be there because he talked about being there on the show. He didn't show up for one reason or another. I mean, he lives way out in Powell, but for whatever reason, I mean, for whatever perception people have, I mean, we're not a huge group of dudes. You know what I mean? At peak, when we would get together, we would have between 10, maybe 15 or 20 people, even though we have a lot more people in our group on Facebook than that.
Yeah.
Like reliably at the pub every time. So the last game
it would usually be like about a dozen, I would say, on a given day. Yeah.
Right. So like the last game, obviously the weekday games are really tough. Either people are either quarantining or they are working, or they're working and quarantining. And so Heather and I were at the last one, and we were the only 2 people at the last one. And you know what? That doesn't bum me out either, because I personally like to get out of the house. So we sat there in front of that big screen and watched the devil's work on the screen. And nobody was close. Oh, by the way, Dean Park came down for.
Did he enjoy his gift?
Yeah. So you saw the cornholes?
Yeah.
I showed it offline too.
Yeah, deleted scenes.
He was freaking out. So I waited until after he got him for Father's Day to post his West Ham cornholes his wife had me make. But those came out pretty cool. I think I'm going to make a set. So
they look good. Yeah. I mean, the photos that you could show over the camera, they look good.
Well, I went ahead and put up an Instagram post so you could see them. I got a gazillion likes on that. So I don't like cornhole, but who knows if we get, whatever. I'll make some.
Is it better than football?
Tell you what,
we'll see.
If we stay in the PL, I'll definitely make them for our group for next week or for next year, and I'll keep them there at the bar. We'll set them up in the alley and just take up the whole thing. So all of us can sit out there. Michael Lawyer and everybody, and Sean and everybody can sit out there out in the alley with the open window, and we'll just like throw beanbags at them at high speed.
It's necessary. Take advantage of it.
Yeah, it could be fun. All right, so we already talked about who gives a shit.
Yeah.
We already talked about whether or not we're disengaged. Well, we kind of did. We touched on it. But here's the weird thing about your statement about we should talk about whether or not we're disengaged. Okay, so I love this team. All of us here, like none of us you and I didn't live in East London, but we both love the team for different reasons and different experiences that we've had. And I was excited to have some kind of sport, some kind of normalcy come back to and stuff. But first of all, a couple of strange observations that probably other people aren't making, at least not that I've heard. First of all, it's the end of fucking June. It's hot as fuck here. It's 91 degrees a half hour ago when I was driving home. 91 Fahrenheit. Mm-hmm. And I'm scrambling around looking for a West Ham something to put on for the podcast. And every garment that I have is made for the fall or the winter. It's too fucking hot. So I had to grab my I love this training jersey anyway. I think I wore this to our very first event ever, which was, by the way, against Chelsea. Opening in 16. So it wasn't a good day that day. I have a very strong feeling it's probably not going to be a real good day tomorrow. But like everything else, you never know. It all depends on what they bring to the table. It's just that lately we ain't seen much. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The time of year definitely throws me off. And I do find it hard to focus on any, like, it's still front and center in my mind that it's the middle of a pandemic, and we are still trying to bring bring sports back for one reason or another. And we can find our own meanings in it, whether it's like escapism or Liverpool needed to win their first title in 30 years, or just money. But it's just not the desired effect, I think.
Right.
I think, I would characterize myself as like cautiously just, I don't even know if it was optimism. It was just very neutral, where it's like, hey, we're going to have football back. I hope nobody gets sick. It's going to be weird as hell.
Right.
I mean, I watched Man U and Brighton this afternoon again, and I've watched the Amex Stadium in empty stands twice. I still can't get over it.
It's weird.
It's weird. And, and I deliberately make myself watch with no enhanced crowd noise.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
I wanted to comment on that because, like, the very first game back, the two games on the Wednesday that we started back, the Man City game and who played in the very, very first game back on that Wednesday? Anyway.
Yeah, whatever.
I watched both of them with no enhanced sound. And I was like, okay, so it kind of sounded like it actually sounded a little less even than like a West Ham preseason game. Because even for some of those preseason games that happen in, the mountains of Austria or whatever,
right?
There's like a band of East Londoners that make the trip and they're like, rah, rah, but then other than
you just hear that wailing on a Facebook live feed, and there it's like, it's mostly dubbed over by announcers, but you still hear individual shouting.
Well, it's pretty
bizarre.
Yeah, but because it's part of the FIFA blanket of sound, the FIFA video game. That's from what I understand, it's the FIFA sound effects for each game. So, like when we watch tomorrow, if you've played West Ham on FIFA, you can hear them do "Come on, you Irons." You can not that we get to see a West Ham score, but if we do, I have a feeling we're going to get to hear like almost like a muffled version of Bubbles, because you hear a muffled version of "Come on, you Irons" or whatever. It's odd. It's like it's alien. It's like it feels like they shouldn't count, but they've got to fucking pull it together, dude. You know what I mean? Like one way or the other. Yeah, they do count. And this, they're going to be down in flames. Of course, there's the whole other side of the coin where so many traditionalists are like, saying things that you would never think like a real West Ham fan would say, like, we need to go down. You know what I mean? Like,
and those calls have been going on,
right?
I mean, since at least November.
Right. And like some people think that that's like the only way really to get the board out, because the club will be devalued and then they'll have to sell off, and who knows where that'll leave us anyway. You know what I mean?
Right. It's not a desired end state,
Right. Right. So,
but we're prepared for it.
Right.
I mean, in so much as you can be prepared for it.
I mean, it feels like we are preparing for it. It's just odd.
I mean, I'm not going to say that just yet. I mean, because we're now basically reduced to cheering for other teams. My close confidant, Paul, the Manchester United fan, they thumped Brighton today 3-0. And I'm like,
against him. Paul is a good man.
Oh, of course.
Right.
Of course, and he will. Actually, we will have a guest available for whenever that Man U match is coming up. We'll check on it later.
Okay.
But I was just like, hey, this result helps West Ham today, and Crystal Palace has bailed us out. Norwich continues to suck. You're now continuing to rely on other teams losing and dropping points and picking up the slack for you, and that's no way to be.
Crappy. Like, it just feels so icky that we're...
Yeah, you feel so helpless.
But you know what? You're the one that said, your predictions, dude, have been... You could be the West Ham Nostradamus right now. I hope that you're right about the end, that we at least stay up and stay at 17.
Yeah, and, I agree with everyone where it's like... Because I've seen various takes that if they stay up, It's like, it's not going to fix anything. Yeah, we'll continue to be a dysfunctional mess. But, you know, you'd still rather be a Prem side.
Right. If we stay up, do you think it stays?
I mean, if they stay up now, then you figure it has to be on the backs of results from these remaining 7 matches.
Right.
And, you know, like it or not, you know, if those end up favorable for West Ham, then, you know, Moyes has to take the credit. There's no one else.
Since I know you're a Twitter guy.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, you did see this. I think you sent me this. Dave Walker's tweet about Big Sam.
Oh, yeah.
You sent me that, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
See this up. You know, that he'd love to have the man back. He's out of work and loves a pound note, so pays Moyes off, which would be about 75.
And, you know, it was, you know, tears of laughter in that, really. Because all I'm seeing is just recycled things right now. Recycling Sam Allardyce coming back. Because that was a name floated around when Slaven got the sack a couple years ago.
Right.
You know, there's rumors of Declan Rice going to Chelsea with Batiashi being sent over. Like, okay, I heard that name 5 years ago. I don't care. I know I'm skipping ahead a bit in some of what you want to talk about, but that new kit that comes out yesterday. Yeah. This is just, they lightened up the blue a little bit, and they're throwing the farewell bowling kit out again. People seem to like that.
It's real close. There's also something weird going on with the shoulder line of the thing. A lot of people are like, oh, it's the farewell bowling kit. But first of all, there's not a speck of gold on the thing anywhere.
Yeah.
But the farewell bowling kit, like the blue starts like further down on the shoulders. This newer one, the blue, like almost like comes directly from the neck practically. It's like a real tight vest line. It's very odd. I mean,
maybe I wasn't looking at it.
One, just because I just keep throwing money at these fucking guys.
When will we learn? I mean, this is flat.
Wait a second. I got some funny shit. Oh, I don't know where it is. But I bought I wanted to have it. I bought the freaking West Ham face mask.
It looked comfortable.
They suck.
It looks like
they're like a spongy fabric.
It looks like a foam finger material.
Yeah, that's kind of what they are. And you know these like filters that you can put in the masks of some masks, the better masks, even the cloth ones. You can't put any kind of a filter in it. They're huge, but they come with these little adjustable clips, kind of like the Adidas sweatshirts do, where you can push a button and pull it up tighter. So you can push them up tighter around your ears. Oh, wait, here it is.
Yes, let's see it.
Oh, good Lord. Oh, but it looks so good.
I know, it shows up great on TV.
Yeah, especially when you see Gold wearing it around his chin. The thing about like guys that wear their masks like this and then have like, you know, their dick hanging out of the top of their underwear. It does as much good. Just take it off. It does. It's kind of I mean, dude, look, it's 8 pounds. It's well printed, but I don't know.
It felt like they emphasized the graphic design more so than the preventative measures that it was
cool.
meant to take.
It ain't no N95. Not that really matters, but, you know, like since the pandemic started, I've got more masks on this table.
Oh, yeah.
Every single night, literally, whatever mask I wore that day, I spritz it with a spray rubbing alcohol, and I hang it right here on the mic stand. So, like, before I get with you, I've got like 5, you know, hanging down. I got like a stack of these like horse feeder bag N95.
Yeah.
I haven't even gone through those. I've got tartan ones, and Heather's coworker keeps making, like, she makes them in her spare time, and they're really cool. And she sent a bunch over, and I don't know. It's just like it's crazy. It's Crazyville. The whole thing is Crazyville. And now we're totally off topic. And So
no, I'm glad. I was not expecting a mask review on this show, but I'm glad you did.
Well, there it is out there in West Ham land. If you're thinking about buying this thing, man, think twice. Okay, so look at it this way. Okay, if we want a real review, okay, so it's hard to tell with this giant fisheye-ness right here, but I have like a big lunar helmet-sized face and a beard, okay? When this thing goes on, now I like the masks that have like a nose peak. They stay up better. They don't slide down. You know what I'm saying? I also have a tendency to like the masks that go over my head rather than the ones that hook on my ears. So this is the little doodad I was talking about that like makes it tighter.
Oh, yeah.
Press this button and you pull
toggle thing.
Right. But they don't come on it. So unless you've got like a chopstick or like a knitting needle, it's really hard to get it in there the first time. But whatever. You
have to manually put that in yourself.
Yeah, they
thread it through.
They come in this little clear bag that says this bag right here. This is the baggie it came in, and it comes separate adult face mask. So there's a smaller version, but the thing is, when this thing is like right up against my nose like this, the beard part is like hanging down here. Like it doesn't like curve down and like
it's not form fitting.
No, no, not even.
Oh, wow.
And if I pull the ear parts tight, then it's like, I'm already like taxi cab going down the street with the doors hanging open. So it hurts. So the thing, it sucks.
Have you relayed this to Thomas and some of the folks? I was going to say back east, but I guess across the pond would be the more accurate one, where it's like,
I haven't.
I mean, look at this ownership group. They can't even effectively monetize a health crisis.
I tell you, I've seen a couple that I am kind of envious of. The Long Live the Bullion ones look pretty sweet. And they also seem to fit the big dudes better, guys with beards, big guys. And I think those ones go behind your ears. I'll tell you, the best one I've seen, when Dean came down to that first game back against Wolves, he had one that was like exactly like West Ham Claret. And I'm like, where did you get that? And he goes, oh, well, my wife's friend made it from one of my old kits. And I was like, it's really cool. So it was actually made from an old West Ham kit. And I go, The only thing is like, say sayonara. I can't believe you cut up a classic kit. And he told me the one he cut up was the SBO bet. I have the one. Like I just got the one that he cut up. But I mean, he grew up there, so whatever.
I mean, if you have dozens of
he
kids,
made a really sweet mask, and I guess he got like 4 out of the kit. So
that's and that's not a bad deal. That's really like really thanking them for their service at this point. Yeah.
Anyway, yes. Anyway, so enough about the mask, for Christ's sake. Are you gonna get one of the new kits?
I'm not very enthused by the home kit. I've seen some of the rumors for the away kit with the two claret bars across the chest. You
like that sky blue? I know
I do. Oh yes,
like the sweatshirt from a couple years ago, and
yeah, the sweatshirt. I have a it's like right out of my reach here, but I have a quarter zip.
Yeah.
From I think 3 or 4 seasons ago. That's really great. I mean, and of course, the Farewell Bullen away kit from 15-16 is like the most favorite one that I have. I'm sad that the string is starting to unravel a little on that, but
such a deep V neckline on that one.
But yeah, but it works so well. It's great. Yeah. So I hold out hope for what that looks like, and I think it's also going to be. We'll see how this season goes. And like, as I was about to say, if they get relegated, then I don't want to like buy a kit or something like that. But then I started thinking to myself, you got to have a kit for the championship years, right?
Yeah. I mean, look, I made the promise already that our group continues. Even if we're doing in the championship, I will do everything I can.
Yeah.
Find every streaming video on the internet that I can, and I will continue.
Oh, yeah. No,
with. I mean, think about how exciting it would. I mean, look, I don't really want to think about this too much because
we're not at the point where we should be.
Yeah, but it almost makes it so that it would be like too real and it's going to happen. But if we're in the championship, our group, even in the States, will fucking continue. We will keep going.
Right.
Look,
it's not going to end.
We've got to be down there kicking ass, right? I mean, it's we're not Sunderland. Oops. Sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway, you're working at home still, right?
I am, and I will be on a call when the game starts Wednesday. But I also work right next to my TV, so
sure, you can watch. You just
I'm never that far away from watching a match. It's just logistics of that, and it's really unfortunate that the morning after we recorded our last podcast was when we started seeing a spike in cases. So,
and now it's like the worst ever.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, here in the next week or two, Governor DeWine ends up saying, "Look, bars and restaurants, you guys got to like shut down again for a while or something." I mean, I'm waiting for it to happen. I've made a promise to myself and to the pub that as long as the pub is allowed to be open and there is a West Ham game to show, I am going to be there. Now, I might go down there like blowing a plastic bubble style with like a astronaut helmet on, but I'm going to show the matches, and I'm going to do my best not to get sick. So, like, I know that you weren't 100% comfortable even coming down there yet, which is totally, I mean, that makes sense to me.
And I've talked to, I talked to Mike Lawyer, I talked to Eric, I talked to a couple other guys, and it was just like, we're all in the same boat. And it's nothing personal, and it's definitely nothing against the pub.
I thought Michael Lawyer was going to be down there for the first game.
Yeah, no, but he and I, we have our in-game Facebook chat.
I got
just yelling fuck a lot. And, and we were talking pregame before Wolves, and he was just like, yeah, I had every intention of going down until yesterday, that Friday.
Okay. So first of all, include me in the in-game Facebook chat.
Sure.
I miss you fucking guys.
Yeah.
And, you guys are the core group. I miss you a lot, and I miss Eric a lot, and I miss Michael a lot.
It's been so long.
The reason why I take all this crap down there and go to games, you know what I mean? I love to hang out with Heather all day long. Hang out with Heather all day long, all night long. We're best friends to the end and do everything together. So hanging out with her and watching the game is still great. Having some beers and eating that food down there, which is terrible for you, but tastes so good. But I miss you guys. That's the camaraderie that
I miss all of it too. I long for the day that it will be back in that, as close to that state as we could get to be.
Right.
But I'm glad that everyone is also like on the same page that, it's not really there yet, and we got to do what we have to do for our own sakes.
Well, not everybody's on that page. Just the smart people who believe in science.
Right. This group. West Ham fans were right about something.
In our group that doesn't fit that mold. You know what I mean? Who knows? It's just the whole world is like upside down. But like when you see that how Europe got it right, or righter anyway, even they're seeing a new spike in cases. You know what I mean? But not like what we're having. You know what I mean? No way.
Well, yeah.
And now it looks like
I definitely feel better about the Prem coming back than I do MLS coming back. That's for sure.
Yeah. And the MLS and NBA and all those. And
hockey.
Florida. And hockey's coming back, but I guess 20 players tested positive. I heard that announcement this morning. So, Are they going to be all in Orlando? I mean, it doesn't really matter. Those players are becoming infected, and all of a sudden, Orlando, Disney World is going to be like a hotbed, and all these players will get sick, and then they'll have to shut all that down. Joey,
that county, yeah.
So I was going to say, Joey DiNapoli hit me up the other day, and if you guys,
I remember.
So Joey, who's a Chelsea fan, I was going to have on tonight, but truth is, I worked late. I forgot to hit him up. He hit me up wanting to know about trying to set up a watch party. Originally, I thought he meant for West Ham Chelsea. So we were like 30 seconds into the conversation, and he was like, "Oh, you think I'm talking about Chelsea?" Yeah, because I guess Fido up at Easton, where the Chelsea guys watch, they're not open. That place is not open at all.
I could see that. I mean, for that setup, I could totally see that.
Yeah, so but he wasn't talking about Chelsea. He wanted to get together a watch party for the Columbus Crew versus FC Cincinnati for the 11th.
Yeah.
And I was just like, for
a 10:30 at night game.
Yeah, it was the day that stuff got announced, and like I keep waiting for Garber to just come out and go, "Yeah, we're not going to be able to do this." You know what I mean? But we'll see what happens. You know, I know that Yellow Nation Army, you know, Joey's group for all of us, like we are going to try to put together a watch party for that night. They're not going to have, you know, the projector and everything down there because I have to use it for my DJ live stream that runs 9 to 10 o'clock that night, that Saturday night. But we are going to set it up. Like they have promised to have the game on for however many people show up, you know, and you know, the bar's like right across the street from a hotel. So people that are staying at that hotel, they come over to that bar, like they wander in. And I've been down there for a weekend night, and the place is like, especially like we went down there for fight night, the place was shoulder to shoulder. You couldn't believe how many people were in there. So I'd be a little bit afraid if there was many more than me and Heather and 4 other people in the whole place. You know what I mean? But it is what it is. And here I promised to keep it short and sweet, and now we're already at 50 minutes.
That's standard length for us.
See, I told you, bro, I do miss you. So
I miss you too. But we're making this work. We're trying. We're doing the things.
Thank goodness for this StreamYard technology, huh? Looks pretty good.
Yeah.
And I thank Tim Milliken from American Hammers Network for showing me this tech. Workspace kind of a little bit expensive, but that's okay. It's worth it to be able to see my bro right there. All right, so listen, dude, I'm going to let you go and get this thing.
Do we even want to bother doing predictions right now?
What's that?
Do we even want to bother doing predictions right now?
Hey, you know what? I don't want you to change your prediction of us staying up, even if it is 17. I don't think 11 for me anymore. That's just not – I don't – okay, let's go ahead.
Is that mathematically possible?
Now, let's do it. Let's do it. Hey, look, we got on here to gripe. So what do you think? First of all, West Ham Chelsea, what do you think?
They're going to lose.
Oh, boy. Okay.
But I think they're going to score.
Wow.
I think let's say 2-1.
Okay. For a score at least.
I mean, we gotta like do something with this goal difference. And you know, if you can't be motivated to get 3 points, then be motivated to be slightly better than Bournemouth in a tie. Now, who's gonna score that goal? It'll probably be some fluke garbage time thing.
Goal differential. I think I would call it almost a win.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. At this point, that's what we're reduced to.
Because, I mean, we're only up by 1 goal, I think, in the differential. Isn't that correct?
You know, honestly, I didn't even look at the table.
1
But
goal.
If you're checking, I take your word for it.
No, I didn't check. I heard one of the 2 Robbies saying it. You know, no. Kyle minus.
No, Martino, yeah.
Kyle Martino minus his earring after the last match. 1 goal. Anyway, so you're thinking 2-1. I'm going to go ahead and say also, and you know I never predict this, but I'm going to go ahead with a West Ham draw, 1-1.
Bold statement.
Bold.
You know, it's like you have to reach back in the deep recesses of your mind to November. And it was like, oh, they actually beat Chelsea. Remember that?
Yeah.
And
it can be done.
We've seen it before. It just, it feels even more desperate than ever. But, I think with the injuries we have out and just, the lack of willingness to make a sub, which I think is, an indictment on both Moyes and the squad's part, it's hard to see.
Tactics, no matter what. The one in the front's not working. If Holler's not playing tomorrow, then shuffle some people around, but get 2 up front somehow, somewhere, under some mountain, make it happen. You know what I mean? Because having 1 up front is just not working. So I'm going to go 1-1 draw. So because I just don't have it in my heart to actually predict a loss. I don't. Maybe that's really quick. But there's the Cleveland Browns fan in me. You know what I mean? So yeah,
you've been trained. You're really in the Olympics now.
That's the one I like. Okay, so still stay up.
I mean, I think we can still say finish 17th. You're already there. And to me, I don't think I think for all the doom and gloom that we have put forth here tonight, there's still over half the games to play, and I don't think there's a reason to change just yet. Okay.
I'm dropping from my prediction of 11 from the last time we did a show.
You got room. Yeah, I don't.
I'm going down to 16, I think.
Ooh.
Yeah. I'm thinking we're going to – I definitely feel like there is 3 teams that are worse than we are, which is a terrible way to say it, but that is the way that I'm feeling.
Yep.
And I think that we can probably gain ground on 1 more team. But either way, if we can stay up, I'll take it.
Pretty much.
So that's I guess that's going to be it for the doom and gloom broadcast.
Ending on a high note.
Say again?
We're ending on a high note.
Yeah, we're ending on a high note. Yeah, buddy. All right. Mark, good to see you, buddy.
See you, bro.
Hopefully we'll see you again soon. And for everybody out there in podcast land and on American Hammers TV on YouTube, we are the Columbus E13.
Come on, you Irons.
You Irons, please.
The love of God.